Hi, guys, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Three Pillars podcast with your host, Chriselda.blog. Today, we'll be speaking on the second pillar of writing. Today's guest is Marla Goldberrg. Marla Goldberrg is an energy healer, intuitive, speaker, teacher, host of Guided Spirit Conversations podcast, and best-selling author of My Effing Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path. Marla attended a 3-year mystery school and by graduation learned 14 healing techniques. Marla continued and continues to build on her education, learning 23 healing modalities. During this time, she became certified as a spiritual response therapist and a certified intuitive life coach. In the spring of 2018, Marla founded and is host of Guided Spirit Conversations podcast and has 2 best-selling compilation books, Heart and Soul and 52 Weeks of Gratitude Journal. Hi Marla, welcome to the Three Pillars. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you so much for asking. I'm so happy to have you on the show, and I'm so inspired by your personality. So I really, really want to get into this conversation with you. But before we go ahead, I'd just like you to introduce yourself to our listeners and just tell them a little bit more about who you are.
Okay. I'm Marla Goldberrg. I'm an energy healer, intuitive, speaker, teacher, thought leader. I have a podcast of my own called Guided Spirit Conversations and the best-selling author of My Effing Long Journey to Loving Myself, A Guide to a Shorter Path.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you've got your foot in everything. Nearly. I don't think there's anything missing there. How do you manage to do all that you do? What's your source of inspiration then?
My whole source of inspiration is my goal and mission is to help. I want to make sure that the people I work with or who I come in contact with walk away with being inspired or the desire to shift their life. And they can all do it. Everyone has the ability to shift the life that they currently have to make it the life they desire.
And you know, when you say that, I am pretty sure this comes from personal experience. What I've noticed is most of the time, people that want to help other people, they've had really rough lives themselves and they've been out of it, they've journeyed out of it, and that's why they feel the need to help other people in those situations. I know that your story is inspiring. Could you tell us about your story as well? You know, I know you hit rock bottom, you built your way back up, you're now serving your life's purpose. What was this journey about? Tell us about that, please.
So, like many people, my upbringing was in a dysfunctional family. And I went through a short period of time in my teens, where I thought that I had it figured out for myself. And I'd gotten engaged very young, and the engagement didn't happen. And without getting into all the details, and something snapped in me, and I probably, thinking about it, felt that I was unlovable or I was damaged and who was now going to want me kind of thing. And I started making decisions that just didn't serve me well, picking the people that that are never going to work with you. And, like the bad boys. And I don't know if boys have bad girls, but women have, females tend to go for bad boys,
I
if
know.
that's your
I've
proclivity.
done that often.
Exactly.
What
And,
is that?
and I now learn that it's a reflection of how you're feeling about yourself inside. And it's like I'm going to get the unattainable, because we feel if we get the unattainable, then we've really gotten, we've hit it. We've pulled that brass ring, but the reality of it is the unattainable is really unattainable. And even if they acquiesce and come to you, it just still doesn't mean they're any more attainable. They're just, there's a good chance they might be playing games with you, or there's a control factor or some abusive factor that's attached to it. Today I would say, if you met somebody who's unattainable or who's one of those bad boys, let them go. Find somebody who, who's a good person, and who you can be friends with, because at the end of the day, things fall apart, things fall away. And not for everybody, but in general. And so making sure you have somebody that you have something in common with, that you can laugh with, someone who you can do things with and enjoy things with. That's the important piece for me in doing that, which is my husband today. That I
Wow.
went through this terribly challenging time. And my first husband, who I had dated when I was 18, and he was this great guy. But when I got back together with him 20 years later, he had gone through a lot of stuff and he was an alcoholic. And not knowing a lot about alcoholism and the 12-step program, I went out with him. And the thing that got to me is he had his children with us practically from the beginning, and he had two young boys. And I felt sorry for them because I saw where they were going. I saw the path they were going down. The eldest one was becoming sort of delinquent-ish, and the young one was being neglected, and he couldn't read, write, hold a pencil at the age of 9. And my heart just went to, like, how do I get involved with this man and then walk away from his children? So I went forward with the relationship for the benefit of the children, thinking I can help them. I can, the Savior came out. I can help them. I can save them. And I did, but at a lot of cost to me, emotionally and physically. And then I finally hit rock bottom when each year I was married to this man, my life with him got worse and worse and worse. And finally I was like, I couldn't deal with it anymore. And I said, that's it. I've had it. I've had enough. And I didn't know what to do because I went into a deep depression. There was a women's conference and there was somebody speaking about how to heal yourself. And I thought to myself, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to learn because nothing else I've been doing has worked for me. And I didn't even realize it was a metaphysical school. I was just desperate. I just needed help. And so I followed this teacher and joined her school. I had my first known psychic experience because I believe we all have them. We just aren't aware that they're truly a psychic experience, psychic guidance. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. But to go through this 3-year school, there was a lot of work that I had to do on me as well as other people. And that is what brought me to my current place. I went through the 3-year school. I graduated. I learned 14 modalities. I continued my education. I'm now up to 24 modalities. And now my life is joyful and happy. And it's abundant in friends and love and things that I'm doing. I'm just so grateful all the time.
Wow, that's an amazing story there. And you mentioned something about modalities. Are there more modalities that you can follow, or is that the last one that you've reached, the
Oh
24th?
no, there's so many. And here's the amazing thing, because spirit, you can learn things, and many people who I've interviewed on my show have, taken a bunch of this class, that class, the other class, and have developed their own technique that serves them and their clients. So, and then they want to teach their technique to somebody else. So they're just being developed all the time. And the great thing about it is I truly believe that everybody, and I look at this as like a dartboard where everybody is around the ring with their different modalities, and they're all trying to get themselves and their clients to the sweet spot, which is the bullseye. So there are many, many modalities to learn.
And can you share with us, let's say I want to begin this journey of self-care. What would you advise me to do? What kind of steps could I already initiate to begin my self-journey, my self-care journey?
I think there's an evaluation because you need to figure out how do you want to shift your self journey. So, for example, I am now currently listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And that comes into one way of changing yourself. Or you may find a healer to work with you, or an intuitive life coach, which is different than a psychic. A psychic, you ask questions, what about me now? What about me down the road? When you're dealing with an intuitive life coach, they intuitively can, guide you to what path to take, which will serve you
Mm,
better. So,
okay.
and I mean, there's just so many ways to go about it. I would just say, you can call me or reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to, if what I do doesn't resonate with you, I have no problem sending person to somebody's modality that will resonate. And if you don't mind, I'll just give you a quick example. I was at a show and somebody came to my booth, and I had known about this gentleman's daughter, but I didn't know him. And I looked at him and he looked like a deer in headlights. And I looked at him and I just got the message that his daughter had been murdered. And I asked him, and ironically, the fall before, I was at a place having lunch and there was a fundraiser, and it was this man having a fundraiser for his daughter. And actually, his daughter was the first spirit I've seen, that I saw. Anyway, we were talking and I said, and he was like, "Can you help me?" I said, "I can," but I kept hearing in my mind EMDR. And EMDR is a modality where you follow lights and you're holding these two things in your hands and you're asked questions. And it's about processing out old stuff. And it's great for PTSD. But I just kept hearing EMDR, EMDR, send him to EMDR. And that's what I did. So I sent him to someone who does EMDR.
And how is it? What happened after that?
I'm not quite sure. I have not seen him, and he hasn't contacted me about it. But I'm in that area often, so I'm sure our paths are going to cross at some point, and I'll find out about it.
Mm. And so, how do you get these feelings? Is there a certain sensation that you have, or are they just voices that you hear?
Um, I have a clear knowing, so a lot of times I can just start talking, and I'll just say things, and it's coming from spirit. Sometimes my head buzzes, like when I know that I'm in the middle of a session and my head starts buzzing. I know I'm connected. I do hear voices. I see spirit. I see energy. So
Hmm.
it depends on what the circumstances are. It will depend on what model, which thing I'll do is I'll see or know, feel or hear.
Yeah. Amazing. I find this so interesting, but that's going to be another show. I want to come back now to your life story because at a certain point, you decided to turn your life story into your memoir, your book. Can you
I
tell us
did.
about how did that come about? What inspired you to actually write a book on yourself?
Well, if it's funny because 5 psychics had told me in the previous year that I would be writing a book. And I said, absolutely not. Who's going to want to, read what I have to say? And it started out with my first compilation book. And then I had a second compilation book. And then I joined a mastermind group. And the person leading it was saying to everybody, you need to put yourself out there and write something. And I went to North Carolina for a month and I would do automatic writing. And so, for people who don't know what automatic writing is, you go into a meditative state. And then, when you come out of your meditation, you have a pen and paper beside you and you just start writing. And it's just automatic. Whatever comes out, comes out. You don't edit, you don't judge. And after writing pages upon pages upon pages, I looked down at what I was reading, and it was my life story. And as I was sitting with my story, I would heard, no, you need to do more. You need to do things that will help people. So I added the tips, tools, and techniques that are in the back of the book that are easy to implement into one's life. And so that's how the story and the book came about.
So most of the book was actually done through automatic writing?
It was. 50% of the book was done automatic writing. And then I was reading it, I was like, oh my God. And then I saw where the book was going and I finished it without the automatic writing. But it was a pretty amazing experience.
I can't imagine that. I think it's a mind blowing kind of experience. But tell me something. What have been the benefits and challenges from this entire experience of writing?
Well, the benefits are that I'm hoping that the people who pick up the book and read the book are able to implement some of these tools to help them tweak their life or shift it or totally change it or enhance it. Those are the benefits of knowing that this is a tool for helping.
Hmm.
The challenge, I have to say, the challenge is always family because there are family members who were very upset because they were afraid of what I was going to write about them. And rightly so. They've done some pretty not nice things, which to say it, and that's lightly, that's being polite about it to me. And when I put those sections in my book, I wasn't out to put anybody else's dirty laundry out, make them anybody look bad. This was about me. It wasn't about them, but they made it about them. And that was very challenging. I had one family member threaten to sue me if I did anything to damage her reputation.
Wow.
And yeah, it happens.
Hmm. And how did you react to that? What was your reaction?
It's not your story, it's my story. I mean,
Wow,
this
my
is from my
God.
perspective. And, if you want to share your side of what went on, write a book. I
Mm.
mean, if I could do it, anybody can do it.
And do you
So
still keep in touch with them or,
I do. I do. It's funny because one of the family members who thought she had me pegged and knew everything that went on in my life read the book and she was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that happened." And it's like, "Of course you didn't know what that happened. That's why it's called my effing journey, not my family members' effing journey."
Hmm.
And
Oh, that's
so
yeah, that's amazing. Uh, since you're talking about the name there, I mean, it's a very eye-catching name. It's an amazing name to a book. How did you come up with that? Did you come up with the name, and how did you do it?
Spirit came up with the name. I give all the credit to Spirit because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and then I just heard those words in my head, and I just spoke them out, and that was the name.
Just like that.
Yeah, and that's Spirit works like that. It's you don't need a cauldron and fire and to do all these things. Spirit, when you get when you're open, Spirit will give you information like this.
But how do you start the communication? Do you ask a question? Do you ask spirit to come help you? How do you?
Oh, I ask Spirit every day. I pray every day. And in my prayers, I always ask for, help, guidance, whatever it is my situation is. And here's the thing, our angels and our spiritual beings that are with us, they want you to ask them for help. They want to be able to be of service. So if you don't ask, you're not going to receive. When you do ask, you do receive. So, here's some ways to test that. And it would be ask a question before going to bed and see if you don't dream an answer, or see if the next day or in a few days while in the shower you don't hear an answer. It's all, and you might think of it as like the big epiphany, but these epiphanies, I believe, are spirit based. But
Wow,
do that.
that's
You find when your mind isn't working, you'll receive the information while you're driving your car, while you're in the shower, when you're doing something that is repetitious, where it's sort of, you just know you have to do something. Like I used to make sweet tables for a event planner, and it was, very slow, methodical work to make all these trays really pretty. If I knew at that time how intuitive I was, I'm sure I would have received a lot of information while I was doing it, because I'm not focusing on anything but what I'm doing. And that's when you can get information.
yeah, so your mind is kind of blank at that point. You're not really thinking or not in any thought process, and that's when it's open to the spirit.
Exactly. When
Mm.
people go, am I going to get something? Am I going to get something? Am I going to get something? Well, you're in your head. You're not allowing the information to come to you. When you ask the question, and so like, pretend you put the information in a balloon, and the balloon is filled with helium, and it goes out into the ethers. That's what it's like when you're asking a question. They're showing me this, the balloon analogy, and it just goes into the ethers. And let's say the balloon pops, and your question goes out there, and then at some time when you're allowing your answer to come in, it will come in.
Wow. Let's go back to your writing then a bit. You told me
Okay.
that 50% of your book, you wrote it yourself. What was your
Automatic
writing
writing.
process? Automatic writing was 50%, and then the rest of it, you schedule
Then
time. What was your process? Did you schedule time for it, or was it spontaneous? Or
I scheduled
what?
time for it because I had given myself a completion date. And so I started this book in, I believe it was April, and I was to finish it by November. So I gave myself about 6 months to do it in. And I got it done. And but I would make sure that I had my time to write and not let anything, if you time block,
Mm,
say, okay, from 1 to 3, I'm writing. And then you go in there. But when half the book was done, it was easy to finish the other half. And I say easy, sort of tongue in cheek, because obviously when I'm reliving some of these very hurtful times in my life, I would get triggered. but then I'd have to come back and do, get focused again, refocused. But I know my story. And so that's why I was able to finish it the way I was.
And then you say at times you got triggered. So how did you manage to keep your emotions out of it and get back to writing, but yet convey your messages into your writing? How did you do that?
I work very hard at trying to stay neutral. Now I'm a human and it doesn't always happen, but I work very hard at being neutral about things. And what I've learned is so, for example, if someone doesn't want to go through therapy because they don't want to go through the pain of something that hurt them deeply, if you look at it like you're watching a TV show or movie, just detach a bit. And then you can go through and process what happened without feeling the emotional pain. But I will share, there were a couple of times, more than a couple, maybe 3 or 4 times, where it really, like, my heart chakra started to hurt me. And I had to step away and do something else and to feel good. And then I went back to writing the book.
Wow. Okay. And what about publishing it? What was that journey about? Was it easy for you to get it published? Did you self-publish or did you traditionally publish it?
It's self-published, but there was this mastermind group that I had signed up for. There was somebody in there who handled the cover art. Like, we worked together on developing the cover art as well as, the book itself. And I found an editor to edit, which was great because she made it sound so much better than it actually was. Um,
Well, they have the knack of doing that. She probably works with
exactly.
spirit too.
But it ended up being relatively easy for me because I didn't have to do any of the technical things. I'm not a tech person, so I was grateful that somebody else could take that from me and
Mm.
take it
And
over.
and did you have beta readers, or do you have friends that actually read the book first and gave you their feedback?
Yes, I did.
And what was it? What was their first
And
reaction?
like, many of them were very surprised at how vulnerable I allowed myself to be, how raw it was, and how I was able to share. But because most people don't want to put these things out. They're uncomfortable being vulnerable. And I understand why. And so but that's what I did. And it's my process. It's what I had to do for me.
And you've become stronger from it, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's liberating. It's very freeing to do this because, once you put it out there, nobody can ever throw anything back at you because it's like, what are you talking about? It's out here. Everybody knows it. I'm not trying to save face by sharing these stories. It's very, how do I say this? Everything is pretty much out there. I mean,
Mm.
if I would have shared every bad decision I made, the book would have been 2,000 pages and nobody would have read it. But the fact that it's only
You'd
about
be surprised.
166,
There are some curious people out there. They love these big fat novels.
they want the voyeurism,
Yeah, something
peeking
like
into
it.
somebody else's life. But here's the thing, people can read this and say, my life's not so bad. Or they'll go, oh, she didn't have it bad. I have it worse. But it's my life. They're my shoes. I'm not
Mm.
walking in anyone else's shoes. And I'm not inviting anyone to judge me by walking in my shoes. I mean, hoping that this is a platform for people to see that, from somebody who with low self-esteem and very minimal self-love and self-acceptance to somebody who truly now totally accepts herself, loves herself, and is putting it out there to help others.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the point. And I think if you keep that in mind, and when you write something like that, the purpose of it is actually to help others. You feel okay. You feel fine after that. You can live with it.
You too, and it's there are certain times, especially at the beginning of when it was released, I'd go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I shared these stories. I can't believe I wrote this." But then I would hear the voice in my head saying, "But you're helping people, and that's the
Mm.
important thing." And so that's what took priority in my thought process.
And what about the cover art? Was there some kind of message that you were trying to portray from it, or you just wanted to keep it simple?
So it's very subtle, but when you look at the cover, you see a forked road, and one side of the road is darker and looks a little bit more, like
Scary or?
Yes, it's darker, scary. And the other one is bright and light. And the reason I chose this art, like I found this art and I liked it, is because of the fact that, the dark road is the long road, the one that's bumpy and it takes you 14 different directions before you can get to where you want to be. Where the one that's bright with the sparkles, that road is shorter, it's smooth, it's bright, it's joyful. There's a difference. And so that's what I
Mm.
was trying to convey with the cover.
No, that's nice. Are you working on other books then?
I've just finished another compilation that came out in December called The Kindness Crusader. But no books right now. Right now, I'm in the process of, I have another project that I can't really talk about that I'm working on.
Hmm.
And so that's the big thing. And I'm also working on a summit. It's called the Global Consciousness Summit. This is to help the earth as well as to help individuals. So we'll talk about things like sustainability and like the voiceless voices, meaning the animals that are becoming extinct.
Mm.
Those kind of topics. But we're also going to talk about compassion, empathy, forgiveness. So it's spiritual and global support summit.
Wow, that's amazing. I wanted to
Thank you.
actually already invite you. So I have a third series coming out at a later date when you're a bit free. I'd like to have you on again, and because that actually is going to talk about self-help. And I think you're a master at self-help. I mean, looking at your story and all that you're doing to help people. So if you do have the time, I'd love to have you back again for the third series as well.
I would love to. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, thanks. And then I have another question. When I
Sure.
say healing through creativity, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God, it's so great. I just put together a workshop for that called Art and Soul. And I think creativity can help definitely heal the soul, to heal someone's wounds, their inner child's wounds, because there's so much that could come out through the art. And I'm an abstract painter myself. So
Wow.
there's amazing what comes out through your efforts. And again, I like automatic work, so which abstract can be very much of, because you just don't know what's going to come out.
And you kind of vent
But
through your art, isn't it?
you can. I mean, you can get, if you're angry, I mean, you can do, I love splatter paint and I love like very Pollock-esque type
Hmm.
painting amongst the other kind. And, there's nothing better than to take a balloon, fill it with paint and slap it against a canvas.
Oh,
Hopefully the
wow.
balloon will break. And, wherever it splatters, it splatters. And then you take another color, things like that, that it could be, which is fun. But one of the ways to release anger is to, like, I use a bat, or you could play tennis, but this is another way. So it's a creative outlet also.
Mm, it's amazing. So, what other ways could we use to combat stress and negativity in a healthy way? Painting is one of them. Writing could be another one. But are there other ways? Do you have other tips there?
Oh my goodness gracious, yes. First of all, I think physical activity is important. I brought up the bat. What I did, and I still do on occasion, but I don't have the same emotional repressed feelings that I used to have, the anger, etc. So I don't need
Mhm.
it as often. But I have a bat in my house, and I will go to my bed or some soft surface, not to another human being. This is my disclosure. You do not use this on people or animals. This is
Mhm.
strictly for inanimate objects. And you take it and you just whap the soft mattress a few times, and you would be amazed on what you feel coming up in of your system. And here's the thing. I'm not a great crier, but I would allow myself to cry when I was going through these processes. And it was amazing once I got over the emotional release, how great I felt. Great gratitude. Gratitude is another great technique. Most of the time, when we're in a place that we don't want to be in, or we're angry, or we're stressed, or we're blaming other people for things, we forget on how many amazing things we do have on our side and that are going well for us. And, there are people that don't have a lot, but if they've got a roof over their head and they can be grateful for it, if they have clothes on their back, even if they're somebody else's clothes, but they still have clothes that they can wear. They could be grateful. A toothbrush, toothpaste. There are many people that don't even have that in the world.
Mm.
So being great, showing gratitude opens the door to more things coming to you to be grateful for, and more things and more things. And before you know it, and again, this is what happened to me. I started with my gratitude practice, and one day I realized that I am consistently happy. I sing all the time. I joke around. It's where I'm at today, but 20 years ago, not quite in that same headspace.
And has learning helped you on your journey? Because I was reading somewhere it was written that you're certified in over 20 different techniques and things. That's a lot. So you've actually been learning continuously, isn't it? Has that helped you on your journey as well?
Well, it always helps because once you learn something, and whenever you're taking classes, not only are you learning from the teacher, but they give you time to work with fellow students. And then a lot of times you get study partners. And so you are able to go and practice those modalities. And when you practice them with somebody, they're clearing things out of you, you're clearing things out of them. So there's constant work being done.
True, so true. Amazing. How do you see the future?
Right. I just see amazing things happening for me. I'm doing things that I have been fearful of. So, for example, being in the public. So I started my podcast. I've written my books. I'm interviewed, on a number of shows like this, which I'm so grateful for. I'm working on another project that will help people, and I've got so many projects like the summit that is reaching out to reach more and more people and to try to touch their lives in a positive way and to show them that they too can have the life they want to have. They have to do work. It's not just going to snap, but it can happen. And that's what my goals are. And that's how I see my future, is just being out there helping.
Mm. So you've actually, you're following your life's purpose, isn't it? So you have reached there.
Yes, I've realized what it is and I'm doing it. And I'm so happy that I'm doing it. You
Tell me.
can visualize what the life you want to have, and put belief behind it. And there's a phrase, fake it till you make it, correct?
Mm.
So here's the thing: if you feel uncomfortable visualizing yourself, well, what is it? What are one of your goals in life?
My goals?
One of yours, yes.
That my kids will be proud of me.
Okay, so you visualize yourself being awarded for Mom of the Year because you've been so great for you've done so much for them, or you see your life with your kids the way you want it to be. And you
Mhm.
just visualize, and you can go into a meditative state and visualize what you want your life to be. And that will help you to get there. Yeah. I mean, if you
Amazing.
want to be on stage in front of 10,000 people, visualize yourself on stage talking to 10,000 people.
So, we visualize this, but then what part does spirit play in this?
Well, it's actually, and it's funny because I've been listening to this. It's about quantum physics and the receptors and how
Mm.
the receptors work to shift things. Now, I'm not a quantum physicist person. I'm not great with science, but I find it fascinating but the visualization it changes the way your cells and your mind trigger. And that's how it changes on a quantum level.
Oh wow. And where can we find more information on that? Is there a book on it, or is there some kind
There's
of?
many books on it. One the book I'm reading or listening to is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Mhm.
A friend of mine recommended that. And there's a business book that really has a lot of the same information called The Answer,
Mhm.
and about building your business. And that's a John Assaraf book. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. There's Greg Braden has a lot of books on quantum physics. I mean, that was his world
Mm.
as a scientist.
Wow. I didn't know that they actually, spoke about visualizing and how it could be explained from a scientific point of view. But that's interesting too. So I am going to read some of those books.
I'm fascinated by them, and I mean, I've known this. I do the technique myself, but listening to the explanation, especially breaking the habit of being yourself, the way
Mm.
because they bring in the quantum physics aspect to it, but they say it in a way that is easier to understand. So
Mm.
normally when I hear scientific stuff, between my ears, I hear boom, 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 boom. You know? And I don't take it in. And I'm listening to the way this is being explained. It's like, I get it. So for me,
Really? So he managed to simplify all of that it didn't sound like that anymore.
in my head, I keep hearing, yes, he did dummy it down for me. But,
The thing about physics, I like physics, but it's when they start getting into, the formulas and stuff that gets a bit like, okay, I don't understand it now. This is not for me. They've
you've
got
just
certain
gone past
formulas.
my yeah.
Did you hear the bomb, bomb, bomb?
Exactly.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay.
But it literally,
Uh,
that is what it sounds like between my ears when
yeah, I can
subject yeah, there's 2 subject matters, science is one of them, and it just, like it does that, and I just end up hearing nothing.
And what's the second
So
one? You said
oh,
two.
when when my husband talks to me about finances, I
Oh,
mean, I know about finances, and I know about budgeting, but he's like, "Mr. Budget," and and I respect him and admire him for it, but I'm really more creative, so I
yeah,
don't get to that left side stuff doesn't light me up.
yeah. That's why you guys make a good couple, isn't it?
It is, it's one of the
Yeah.
reasons, but
Great.
we laugh
I
a
hope
lot. That's
I
the
hope
other reason.
I I hope he's not there with you because he's gonna like give you some kind of talk after this.
He'll probably roll his eyes at me and just go, "Okay, Marla," but he knows how I feel. I
Yeah.
mean, one thing my husband and I know about each other is we know where we stand, we know how we feel about everything, and we may not always embrace it the way the other might want us to, but we respect each other and share consideration.
Amazing. Oh, that's how it is. That's how it's supposed to be. So that's fine. Good. Marla, tell me, do you have any advice for, people that would like to go in the direction that you're going in, or people that want to write like you've written your book? Do you have any advice for them?
Well, I would say if you want to write, find something you want to write about, and then it'll be easier for you to do that. This is my belief. But if you really want to write, but you get stuck, there are many, many people out there who can help you with your process. And you can find somebody who's a ghostwriter, or you can find some publishers who, there's smaller publishers where you're basically self-published, but they help you put everything together,
Mhm.
and you can do something like that. Or you could go to a more traditional route of book publisher and see if they'll pick up your book and take it and
Mm.
work with you on it. Here's what I say. If you have an idea and you want to do it, do it. Because the last thing you want to do on your last breath is regret not writing that book, not taking that trip, not buying that dress or suit that you wanted to buy, that you really loved. So, I'm a person who believes in trying to have as few regrets as possible when that day comes.
Do you have any more information to share with our listeners?
Well, if they would like to learn more about me, your listeners can find me at Marla Goldberg with 2 R's. That's Goldberg at .com. And if you want to write to me, I'm at Marla at mghealer.com. And if you have any questions, I offer 20-minute complimentary consultations. So if your guests want to reach out to me, we can Zoom or Skype, and because I know you're international, and see what road is best for you, what you're looking for, and how I can help. And again, if what you're needing is not in my wheelhouse, I have no problem referring you to somebody's wheelhouse that will work for you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put all these links in the description box of this episode as well, so that they can easily find you and get in touch with you that way as well. Great. Marla, it was lovely having you on the show. I enjoyed it so much. And it's like I want to
Thank
talk
you.
more. But I
It's a
know.
great show. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I've had a lot of fun, and I want to back. Would like to have you back again, like I mentioned earlier, on the next series of self help. So I hope you can make that, and good luck in all that you're doing. And I really hope that you help increase, the positive vibration that we have around us on Earth and everywhere. So great going, and good luck with everything. Thanks, Marla.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a lovely evening then, and see you soon.
Thank you. Not, yeah, it will be. Have a wonderful day or evening. I'm not sure what time it is by you.
Oh, it's quite late now. It's like, what, 9 in the evening, I think, 9 at night.
That
Yeah,
is late.
it
Well,
is.
have a wonderful evening and a beautiful day tomorrow.
Oh, thank you very much, Marla. You too. And I really want to speak to you soon. Take care. Bye,
You
Marla.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on The Three Pillars. See you next week and make it awesome.